Good evening to all of you. Welcome to our second leadership lecture series of alumni IIT Kharagpur uh, India Foundation. I am Shridatta Raichaudhuri, Secretary IIT Kharagpur Alumni Foundation India. Uh, we in the second series we are welcoming Dr. Pratap Singh Khanwilkar, who is a 1984 batch electrical engineering from IIT Kharagpur, Nehru Hall. He has done his schooling from Maya College, Ajmer, and has received the JTM Gibson Award for Alumni Excellence in 2023. He has completed his MS and PhD in bioengineering and MBA from University of Utah. He is an elected fellow of American Institute of Medical and Biological Engineering since 2006. Sri Pratap Singh Khanwilkar is a medtech innovator, entrepreneur, and an ecosystem builder. He has founded over 25 startups, achieving 3 successful exits, 1 IPO, and 2 strategic acquisitions during his 40-year medtech career. He has held roles ranging from CEO, board chair of startups to an officer of a NASDAQ and TSX traded company. His groundbreaking innovations include a long-term implantable blood pump for end-stage heart failure, a platform for the oral delivery of large molecule drugs, a novel metallic biomaterial for orthopedic implants, an implantable neuromodular for neuro-degenerative conditions. Pratap has played a vital role in fostering medtech ecosystem in USA and as well as Canada, Korea, Australia, Japan, China, and India. Currently, he serves as a professor of practice in bioengineering at the University of Pittsburgh, where he directs the professional MS programs and continues to contribute as an angel investor. He is an avid outdoorsman and an armature naturalist, a passion he shares with his wife Elaine and his mother Nirmala, and his daughter Sarika, an active leader in wildlife conservation. He also helps direct the US-based non-profit Wild Tiger dedicated to preserving Bengal tigers and their habitats in India. Having worked on heart failure therapies for 40 years, Pratap recently experienced being a patient for this condition. He is looking forward in resuming skiing, river rafting, mountain climbing, hiking as he regains his full fitness. I will request all of you to join us in this very interesting session from Dr. Pratap Singh Khanwilkar sir. Pratap sir, please.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Great to be with my alma mater crowd, IIT KGP. I have fond memories. I was the second last of the 5-year batch, and actually had my own room to myself in all those 5 years, as opposed to what I hear is on campus today. So look forward to talking to you. I have about 25 to 30 minutes of prepared remarks. I'll throw a lot of information at you, but there are slides, pictures. I'm not going to read through each slide, but I'm going to hit on the high points. I believe this lecture is being recorded on YouTube, and I'll talk to my slides rather than talk my slides through. And you can always go back and look at something that caught your interest, and we'll have time for Q&A towards the end, I believe, at least about 15 minutes of Q&A, if I can finish my remarks on time. So without further ado, I'm going to start. Sharing needs to be turned on. Sid?
Yeah, you're being given access, I think.
Okay.
You can just share your screen.
Says the host is on. Okay, I think I can.
Can you?
Yeah, now I can see it. Yes.
Okay.
I believe I can do that. So everyone can see my screen, I believe. I'm going to put my title slide on. Everyone see that. And then, so I hold a variety of positions. My day job is as a professor of practice at the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. I also have a consulting company that I've had for a long time called Ignition Key. I have the honor of being on the advisory board of it's one of the largest nonprofit contract organizations in the world called the Southwest Research Institute. kind of like the Stanford Research Institute is kind of in that SRI and Battelle and those places. I am an active angel investor as well. And then, so I will talk about just a brief introduction, talk about disruptive medical innovation as opposed to incremental innovation, a slight difference in how I see it. What are the lessons learned and what I see going forward in the future of medtech, including in India, are. So as Sid said, I'm got about 40 years in medtech. I decided to go into medtech, biomedical engineering, right after IIT KGP at EE. The EE was a little bit, I did it, but I have to say it was a little bit too abstract for me. So I wanted something more practical and directly I could see my work impact people. So that's the reason I went into biomedical engineering right from the get-go, went to Utah, which at that time was one of the world's best places to do artificial organs, including artificial hearts, which is what I started doing when I got there. Raised a lot of money. That's one of the hardest things to do as an entrepreneur. And got all my degrees in Utah, graduate degrees in Utah, and I've actually have helped that university become one of the best universities for innovation and entrepreneurship in the world, and got into a lot of activity, outdoors activity. You can see I was a pretty good skier and a rock climber. I've climbed some mountains, technical climbing, and run rivers, including the Colorado River. And now I'm involved in, as Sid mentioned, in tiger habitat conservation, sorry, and social justice issues in Texas and in India. So I'll just highlight, instead of trying to cover everything that I've done, 4 things that I look back on are really disruptive. Now, I like to play in the sandbox, basically, because, but it takes a long time and a lot of money to do disruptive innovation, especially in medtech. So while incremental innovation, incremental improvements in a particular device or a technology, especially in medicine, can take maybe 5 years and maybe $10 million, let's say. A disruptive innovation will take about 15 years and 150 to $200 million to get to market. So it is a long road, but that's the sandbox that I like to play in. So these are the 4 sandboxes that I want to just touch on today. Is a long-term implantable blood pump for heart failure, which I took from concept, I and my team, to FDA-approved clinical trials in the USA. And my startup, that I was the founder, CEO of, was acquired by a public company, and I stayed with that public company for about 5 years as an officer. The oral biologic drug delivery platform, so that's a holy grail of pharma, meaning a biological drug it's a big molecule versus the chemical entity with pills that you can just make in by chemistry, and mass production is worked out. So in biological drugs, these are large proteins and amino acids, stuff like that, which you have to make, in mass production happens in what is called a bioreactor. But more importantly, you can't really make pills of them and swallow them, because the stomach will do to a biological drug what a stomach is designed to do. It'll break it up, digest it, so to speak. And so the drug that you deliver just orally will be worthless. But we have come up with a platform by which you can deliver these biological drugs orally in the form of a pill that is really a device that is disguised as a pill. So I'll tell you a little bit about that and show you a video of how that works. So we went from bench stage that I was involved in to early clinical studies. And I didn't come up with the original idea, just to be clear. But I was there for the founding team to make the startup go public on the NASDAQ stock exchange a few years ago. The another innovation is a novel orthopedic biomaterial that we took from concept to in vitro and in vivo studies, again with a huge team. And basically, they're plates and screws that are being manufactured and commercialized made of this biomaterial. It was basically bioresorbable magnesium alloy that we use instead of stainless steel or titanium, which is these have been used for 50 or 60 years. They are the standard materials that are used if you break a bone or something needs fixing in a broken joint or bone. Then the next thing, the last thing I would like to highlight is a next generation implantable neuromodulation. So something, an electrical stimulator basically that stimulates a few of your nerves to achieve a certain function without having side effects that unwanted side effects. So these are four things that I'll just kind of hit on with my talk. And the first exit was, you can see I'm standing third from the left. When I was much younger. I had hair. Now there's none. But a lot of these people, it takes a huge team to do this. That's one of the things I want to impress is, in terms of leadership, you have to have a lot of disciplines working well together. Engineering, biological, administrative, business, government, clinical, all these disciplines have to work very well together for you to have a chance to succeed at this. And I'm probably one of the few people in the world who have made a maglev pump like this and brought it all the way from start to finish, if you will. So, just quickly going through, for about 30 years, the field, this was before as I joined Artificial Hearts, we were trying to emulate nature because we always look to nature for inspiration, saying, hey, let's look at how it's done, nature has done it. And we try to copy nature. So in the heart, I'm using the analogy of flight, we try to copy nature because our pump always pumps blood. It's a displacement pump, right? It relaxes, the heart relaxes, it fills with blood and it squeezes and it ejects blood. So we tried to build pumps that were displacement pumps, basically, that again tried to mimic how the natural heart worked, and it didn't work very well. But the field did that for 30 years at least. Um, then someone had the bright idea of, what if we directly pump blood? Forget the sac and diaphragm and pusher plates and all that stuff. How can we then pump blood better? Uh, and everyone recoiled in horror when this doctor engineer proposed, hey, let's directly pump blood by spinning an impeller in the blood. And everyone said, no, 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 it can't work. So 10 years, he and others fought the battle, but they eventually proved that you can actually pump blood directly, like the prop plane did instead of flapping wings. Flapping wings, airplanes didn't work very well. So then, of course, people improve on that situation. People said, why do we need the previous device, second generation had axial flow pump with blood immersed bearings. So that's how the spinning part would be supported at the ends on mechanical or ceramic bearings. So some people said, hey, why do we need that mechanical interface between the spinning part, the moving part, and the stationary part? What if we use blood as a suspension medium to lift off as a helicopter, does for the impeller, the spinning part to lift off and, keep that as the suspension mechanism, hydrodynamic suspension, to pump the blood. So they did blood pumps with that. But I and my colleagues, we always said, no, we're not going to depend on the properties of blood because the viscosity of blood will change the dynamics of how that blood immersed, blood suspended pump would work. We decided to go in the early 90s. This was a long time ago. About 35 years ago, we made a bet on saying, hey, we're going to go after a maglev, a full magnetic levitation pump, and centrifugal, because for the flow rates and pressure heads that you need, a centrifugal pump seems to have better characteristics for pressure and flow than an axial flow pump or other pumps. So anyway, that's the architecture we bet on. And I have to say, the nice thing is the winning architecture in today's marketplace, these pumps are now being used for 15, 20 years in patients, is this architecture, the centrifugal pump with the full maglev. So what we did was on the left-hand side, you'll see a patented technology we patented saying, okay, it's easy to say, okay, let's make a maglev pump, but practically, how do we compress all those actuators and sensors and everything into something that can fit inside the human chest? So that was the big challenge. We spent about a decade trying to figure that out. And once we did, we had this configuration that you see with the impeller being completely suspended and well, the motor action is one axis, right? Every degree of body has 6 degrees of freedom. So that leaves, if spinning with the motor action, that these 5 degrees of freedom that we have to control. And 4 degrees of that, we are able to make a smart arrangement of permanent magnets that was able to suspend this in the cavity without any power, just permanent magnet. But of course, you don't get anything for free. So in the z-axis, as is shown in blue there, we had to actively control that impeller from being in that space, in a particular position in space. So that's the active power that we needed, but we minimized it. We used some clever algorithms, power management algorithms, and all that stuff, control systems designed to stabilize that impeller in that space. It's a tight space. It was, the clearances between the spinning part and the housing, the stationary housing, is about 10 blood cells, red blood cells. Um, so then, of course, then you have to put a system together, which is the titanium casing and cabling and wires and everything to mechanically hold it together. Then you have to figure out, as that diagram shows, where do you put it in the body? And it shows you how my pump was put in. So it took blood from the left ventricle and put blood out into the aorta, and it provided assistance to the heart. It didn't replace the natural heart, so it was a assist pump and not an artificial heart per se. Then we had a wire come through the skin, and that white button that you see there on the picture is a removable connector because previous generations had come to realize that sometimes that cable, which was originally hardwired for earlier generation pumps, would come to the controller and the batteries here, would be stuck in an elevator or a car door and break, or the dog would chew on it, or something of that would happen. And then you would die because you had to get to a hospital really quickly to replace the whole damn thing. So anyway, we learned some human factors design stuff from from past experiences. Then we said, hey, why can we reduce this technology to make it? And we did. We had NIH, the National Institute of Health, funding quite a significant amount to make a pump for babies. So babies are born with congenital heart defects, holes in the heart, whatever. A lot of things can go wrong in your plumbing when you're born, and everything is being formed, and then they need corrective surgery. So we got this contract to develop a device for pediatrics to support them for about a liter and a half versus an adult pump that we had designed it for 10 or 12 liters a minute. So you could, jog on activities of life. You could resume normal activities of life. So that's how, because we learned enough about maglev, we could design a pump for much smaller pump, and of course the flow requirements were about a tenth of what the adult pump was. We also imagined, and it's still under development, a pump for less sick patients. So pumps for the adult that could provide maybe 3 or 4 liters a minute. And actually, that is a startup that I started just 4 months ago with some co-founders that I'm hoping to advance as the time goes along. So on the company journey, something that I started in my garage in '92 to get some funding called Cornflow. I formed a company called MedQuest, raised about $35 million, got it from concept to preclinical, animal testing, everything, all that stuff. And then got acquired by this company called World Heart, which was traded both in the US Stock Exchange and Canada. And we raised, while in the 5 years I was there, we raised another $75 million, just going back to the amount of time and money it takes to do this. World Heart, in turn, was acquired by Hardware. I had since left. Hardware was acquired by Medtronic, which is a big medtech company. It has huge operations in India as well. And they acquired it, and 5 years later, for more than $1 billion, and and they divested. They said they want nothing to do with this whole business 5 years later. That's what big companies do. And on the product side, we are able to take the Levacore, we took it into the first in human studies in Europe, and then did a bridge to heart transplant trial in the USA. On the pediatric side, you can see that I collaborated with the University of Pittsburgh, my present day job right now, and with Carnegie Mellon University, which is right down the street. And right now, the technology and the professor has moved to Cornell, so I'm working with Cornell right now, University in Ithaca, to form a new company out of this and see if we can make it work. So, just to give you, the reason you get into this is to help people, right? So you took this person in Greece who was going to die. He was dying of heart failure. He had a couple of days to live. And he said, okay, I'll be an experimental subject for your first device, first in the world. So we went from the ICU, that person on standing up on there in the background on that picture with the ICU, that's Jim Long. He's a surgeon, my clinical partner. Going back to what I was saying, that you need all this, a multidisciplinary partnership to make it work. Then to the ward, you can see the Greek surgeon and hospital CEO with the patient. We could take the patient out on excursions. He was happy to go back to drinking and eating a Greek diet, which was not very healthy, but he went back to it. And then went back home after he was explanted. In this trial, we had actually designed the device to help the patient's heart recover in about 3 months' time. And we did that. So in some cases, actually the use of the support pump helps your natural heart recover. Because if you think about it, our heart has to keep ticking all the time. If it stops, we die. So we don't get a rest. The heart never gets a rest. So this device is able to take the load off the natural heart and help it recover, which is what we did for this patient and another one. So this is a US patient then, Doug.
The nurse listens to Doug Wiley's heart and hears a finely tuned machine.
Low-pitched little motor.
Because that's what's in there.
If I didn't have this, I might not be sitting here right now. And it's cool.
Wiley has a condition that was weakening his heart and slowly killing him.
Feeling just terrible. I mean, you get up, you don't want to do nothing. You gotta make yourself do everything. You're just drained of energy.
And that's all I want to do is sit on the couch and watch TV.
He needed a heart transplant, but those are in very short supply. So he went to University of Utah Healthcare's Cardiovascular Center to see surgeon Craig Seltzman.
And so we had the conversation with him and said, well, you can keep waiting and keep getting admitted to the hospital, or, while you're fairly stable right now, let's go ahead and put this pump in and get you back to living, and then we'll get you an organ when the time comes.
And they mentioned VAD, and I was like, what's that?
A VAD, is a ventricular assist device, a pump surgically implanted that helps the heart move blood.
So this sits right into the inflow, so it flows out of the left ventricle into the pump, through the pump, and then back out to the rest of his body.
VADs have been around for years, part of the rich history here of cutting-edge heart research.
This was one of the originals.
But the devices keep getting smaller.
This pump is super small, right? It's like a C battery.
And better. Wiley is the fourth in the nation to receive the new high-tech Levacore pump. It has one moving part that's fully magnetically levitated and could last longer with fewer complications.
My breathing's got back to normal now. I feel really good. I feel like a normal person should, which I haven't felt in a long, long time.
At first, VADs were implanted in people facing imminent death.
Do a couple connections on the pump, and then we'll fire it up. And as we've gotten better with these things, we're taking patients that are a little bit less sick, a little bit less near imminent death, and bringing it back a little bit and saying, okay, now, since our success rate is so good, let's make people live
You use 2 batteries in your
good lives, extend their life while they're waiting for an organ.
Now they're improving the lives of patients like Doug Wiley.
You have less people dying from advanced heart failure because we have these kind of tools.
2.5 weeks after surgery, Doug Wiley's really moving again.
I think it's great. I think it gives him another chance.
She's got her husband back.
Yeah, really. Got my husband back. Chance to live again. It's awesome.
But the ultimate goal, Saltzman says, isn't to replace a sick heart.
The holy grail is not to have a machine in you, but get you through sickness. Give therapies that have yet to be discovered or can be tested so that you can get the thing out of you.
To apply some of the university's cutting-edge research and nurse ailing hearts back to health.
Yeah, it's just a flight home. Just
No doubt Doug Wiley likes the sound of that.
So this was Doug 6 months from there. He was at the lakeside with his family, enjoying a nice picnic, doing wheelies on his motorcycle, and we're like going, Doug, please don't crash because you're going to die. You're going to break something, the wire. But he enjoyed life, yeah. Right? I mean, that's the whole object of this, is to get people back to life who are, really close to death. So, the surprising thing is last year, I had my own heart failure patient journey. I'm a heart failure patient now. I got a virus when I came back from India last January, RSV. It's like long COVID. It didn't go away. It started eating my heart muscle, and my heart was at 16% function. I was falling down. You can see the damn black eye I got after falling down from bed because I was so dizzy. My heart was not working properly. And I was admitted to the hospital. Luckily, I'm on the road to recovery with the help of medication, with rehab therapy, and I'm enjoying life, if you will, de-stressing. We're talking a little bit about how to de-stress our lives a little bit to make them easier to live. So that gives me a new appreciation for what I have done and continue to do. I'll just turn over from here to the other three innovations I talked about, and those will be very quick. The second one was this oral drug delivery platform that I've worked with this incredible innovator in medtech, Mir Imran. He's actually from Hyderabad originally, and he's phenomenally person, an innovator, an entrepreneur, and has a great track record. That's why I left academia in my first stint and joined him for about 10 years. So this technology, as I said, is really a device as a disguise as a pill, and I'll show the video quickly of how it works. And this is a silent video, so there's no sound to it. So I'll show you this lady swallowing the pill, and it shows you the pH gradient. So we have a pH gradient in a GI tract. So the pill has a coating on it that prevents the pill from coating from dissolving in the stomach, but instead is designed to dissolve in the pH of the small intestine, which is where the targeted delivery point is. Then the pill coating designs, it releases water and carbon dioxide as a two-part simple chemical reaction. And the balloon expands. The balloon has this needle as a representative needle, which has the drug of choice embedded in it. The action signals that the pill has been deployed to an app. The payload, which is in that, so let's say, sugar needle, and sugar is naturally occurring, dissolves, and the drug is released to the gut that is very heavily vascularized. So there's immediate uptake. We have shown in studies that it is as good as taking an injection, which is what people have to do for these biological drugs, either take an injection or get an IV to get these drugs delivered. No one really wants to take an injection. So that's why this has been a big holy grail really for pharmaceutical companies. So I know the company is working with many, many pharmaceutical companies around the globe to deliver their biological drugs using our platform. So the other thing was the bioresorbable magnesium I alluded to. So what happens with the stainless steel and titanium that is used and has been used for the last 50, 60 years is that once the joint heals, the bone heals, the fracture heals, then you have to go in and take it out. You need a second operation to take that thing out. Because if you keep unloading the joint with the artificial implant, that joint will never truly heal. So basically, this is we are making now implants, orthopedic implants out of magnesium alloys, and you have to be smart about it, of course, and they're all patented and all that stuff, which have a controlled degradation rate. So at the beginning, they take the strength of the metal and afford the strength that is needed to keep that joint structurally sound and let it heal. But slowly it goes away without causing problems to the body and having side effects, but also then having the natural bone that grows take the load and fully heal. So that's the third, I guess, radical innovation with a huge team. Now, in that project, I was just leading the business part of it and guiding them on which markets to address and which not to, and things of that nature. Then this one is another project I led right from the get-go, really. We I was at the University of Pittsburgh, went to InCube. We had a startup. I was the CEO of that startup for basically restoring urinary function for spinal cord injury, which has a lot of other applications. So we were the first in the world to be able to develop an implantable neuromodulator, which could do two things at the same time inside the body with two different nerves without interfering with each other. So it's, signal processing, intelligent algorithms, timing, the whole bit to make sure that there's no cross currents happening between one nerve, which we are trying to block, which we blocked, and one nerve that you're trying to activate to elicit a certain muscular response. So in this case, in the bladder has to relax to fill pee with pee. And then when you want to pee, it has to contract. And at the same time, there's a muscle called the urethral sphincter that has to open. So these two actions, this squeezing of the bladder and the opening of the sphincter has to be coordinated. So that is something that, two different nerves control. No one had ever figured out how to do it before, but we did and built a whole implantable system around it. So this is, again, an implantable device. You can see the IPG, the implantable pulse generator, in that center photo there. And with a wireless system. So there was no wires going through the skin like we had in the artificial heart pump I showed. This was completely wireless. There was a battery inside the can internally that was charged up by this wireless system. Now, of course, that was another challenge because, it's basically this metal can, so it acts as the Faraday cage. How do you get electrical fields inside that cage to charge the battery from outside the body? So, lots of challenges come up as you do this. So the lessons learned really are, you need three things to make it work. I call it the biome. You need a clinician to be with you through the whole journey. You need a solution to be provided by a technical person, a biologist or bioengineer, or could be any engineering discipline. And then you need a business person to how to take that invention and get it to patients. So that's really what you need. And typically in a medtech situation, you will come across a technology looking for a market, saying people are like, hey, I have the best technology since sliced bread. Why aren't people making a path to my door? Well, it is because you need to know first the target you're going after. Even if it's a platform technology, you need to know your first target, your first market. Then you can work backwards, considering all the external environment. Then you can connect the dots that are needed. If you address, which market and the details of the market you're going after, then you can determine what your regulatory path is, the clinical trials you have to do. That will dictate what kind of animal and bench testing you have to do. That will dictate what kind of product development and feature set you need to put on the products you need to design that will meet the needs of your patients and doctors. You need to figure out the manufacturing. And of course, the technology or technologies, many technologies make a product happen. So that's the way we do things. And of course, then the financing process follows. And there's a team at each stage of the game. The team changes, the organization changes, the relationships change. So you have to manage all that and plan for it as things go along. So really, you have to address the market, make sure a top down, bottom up. The leadership team is critical. I mean, without good leaders on the team, people make things happen, right? And you got to focus. Everyone's got to be focused on pretty much the same page and working towards the same goals. You got to have some defensible IP business model that protects what you're going to be doing, because it's going to take a long time and money. Investors want to make sure that there's something defensible. And then how are you going to scale things up? What are the key risks? How do you manage the risks? So in a way, you got to do a dual thing. You got to be positive on, okay, here's the market. We don't know if it'll exist in 15 years once we develop this device and this technology, but we got to start now. But at the same time, we got to manage all these risks. So you got to kind of balance both those mindsets, if you will. So switching back, that's what we teach now at this master's program that I'm directing, is a master's in medical product engineering. So those of you who don't know, Pittsburgh is a keystone state, that's the name of it. It was one of the 13 original colonies in the USA. And you can see Pittsburgh is on the western side, the left-hand side of that picture. Beautiful city, at least in 3 seasons. The winters can be severe with the Great Lakes close by, where 2 rivers meet. They form a sangam. So Allegheny and Monongahela, we call it the Mon, meet to form the Ohio River here in Pittsburgh. And there's downtown that you can see here. It's got the most number of cities with the most number of bridges in the world, and tunnels too. There's a lot of hills too. It was really the Silicon Valley of the industrial age. Carnegie formed his steel, US Steel is headquartered there. The modern financial industry was invented, if you will, in Pittsburgh as well. Banking, trading, moved later on to New York. But now it's reinvented itself with eds and meds, education and medical stuff. So, there are a lot of reasons to be in Pittsburgh. Most notably, it usually ends up as a top #1 most livable city in the United States, and a lot of things going for it. Why Pitt? Well, a lot of reasons. Pitt has an excellent medical system called UPMC, the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. It's kind of like the Mayo Clinic or the Cleveland Clinic or the Texas Heart Institute, if you will. We have a huge infrastructure of medicine and funding for research from the National Institutes of Health. We get more than $1 billion a year, the university does for that research. So what do we see in the future? Challenges and opportunities. When I look at the whole big picture, if you will, of the globe, we are facing with an aging population globally. And as that population ages, and it is aging in the advanced countries like the US, they are faced with the burden of chronic disease, meaning these are not diseases that they go on for years and years, like diabetes, heart failure, obesity, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, kidneys failure. And most health systems, including Indian, we are not set up to deal with these challenges. And so over the years, this shows a graph of almost 30 years of how what we call these non-communicable diseases have taken over from communicable diseases like malaria and infection and nutritional-based diseases that used to be the common cause of death, even in countries like India. But these chronic diseases have taken over because of the aging population and all that stuff. Cardiovascular disease, by any stretch of the numbers, is predominant of these non-communicable diseases. You can see the list down there. Cancers is number 2. Neonatal disorders is still a communicable disease. So the non-communicable diseases are in blue on this graph, and I'm going to keep going. So let's talk about India then. COVID is what changed the whole equation in India, and I've helped ecosystems grow in all these countries here. The ecosystem is there, it's forming. I mean, I know IIT KGP has a school of medical science and technology and a tertiary care hospital. IIT Kanpur is building one right now on campus. Thankfully to COVID, I mean, 20 years ago when I used to come here, people would not care about medtech. It's like, yeah, we'll just import what we need. But now, because of the exposure that COVID exposure has led to, the understanding and realization that we need to have, we being in India, we need to have our own medtech ecosystem to be self-sufficient. So we talk about the youth dividend in India. It is true on paper. However, the problem is that the same thing, what's happening globally is that basically an Indian in their mid-30s, going back to what Sid was talking about earlier informally, is as sick as an American, let's say, in their 50s. I'm generalizing here, all right? So why is that? So why is that happening? You can see the reason for the rise in NCDs in that graphic below: faulty lifestyle, diet, right? Very carbohydrate rich, very oily fried food diet. Whatever we boil, we kill the hell out of it when we boil it as well, overcook it. So there's no real nutrition being transferred. Tastes good. Lack of physical exercise, just kind of a social, cultural, indifference to physical exercise. Tobacco, alcohol, and I would add polluted environment has a lot to do with it too. Air, water, land. We don't have clean air, clean water, clean land. I'm talking in general, okay? So there are key challenges, there's no doubt, but basically my vision, and I've talked to a lot of people, is to develop, India has the opportunity to be the leader for the world in medtech. And I've worked with IIT Kanpur and the HIDVAD. They have an LVAD project that I was involved with 1.5 years to work with the team and advise them. I'm working with a Hyderabad-based project as well for the stuff that I know, blood pumps. And then also exploring with people I've come to know in the last 25 years, Dr. Devi Shetty, Anand Deshpande, who's my batchmate from IIT Kharagpur, and we're good friends. We're on the IIT water polo and swim teams together, and he was a Patel Hall guy, and I was a Nehru Hall, so we'd meet up for chai once in a while in KGP, and we've kept in touch over the years. And of course, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, who's from Nagpur, right? So I'm based in Nagpur now. And so this is something that we have a vision for. We'll see. I'm going to try how to get to an incubator in Nagpur. That's what I'm working towards. My great-grandfather came to Nagpur with nothing, poor artist, and built the best printing press in Asia at the time. Out of that, with Prime Minister Nehru came to inaugurate. You'll see him there. So it can be done, right? I mean, but you have to start and you got to do it with a good team. So really, in conclusion, I would say dream big, why dream small? Great people and team makes it happen. So my mentors, my teammates, my collaborators, they have, one can't do it by themselves. Especially in medtech, it really takes a village. You have to make the effort up front. So that's one thing I've learned over the last 15, 20 years is just put in the effort, maybe sometimes for a year or two before you actually start doing a project, to really understand what is going on, the dynamics of all these things. I have to say, as a CEO, the fundraising is the most difficult part, convincing others to invest money, big money into your idea, crazy idea sometimes. But you have to make your own luck and be mindful of timing. And in a business, just realize that late failures happen. I mean, you can get it approved through clinical trials and still fail when you introduce a technology to the general public. And you may have to withdraw the device or the drug that you have done. So it is part of the game, basically. You have to just recognize that and just enjoy the journey, if you will. So really, thank you for listening. I hope, I elicited some thoughts in you, and I'm free for Q&A. I'll turn it over to Sid now.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice lecture and throwing some light on the various developments for the last couple of decades we have been doing. And you see, these cardiovascular issues these diseases are coming up, especially after COVID. Maybe these diseases are up because we also run a group medical insurance from the alumni, and we also find the number of alumni who are having diseases. It is in the top three, the cardiovascular diseases.
Right,
So,
right.
and we do have a very polluted environment in most of the parts of India. That is another issue. Maybe the COPD issues are quite a
Oh,
big
yeah,
problem.
absolutely. I've talked to lung cancer doctors in Delhi who said that, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, they were diagnosing lung cancer in patients in the mid-50s in Delhi. Now it's people in the mid-20s who are getting lung cancer. Because the minute you're born in Delhi, you're smoking the equivalent of 6 packs of cigarettes a day. I mean, it's crazy, right? Sorry, keep going. Yeah.
I will request the Q&A from the audience, sir. It was an excellent lecture. Throwing
Please,
some light.
please.
Hello, sir. I think I loved the overall presentation. I think a lot of cutting edge work has been done in the heart sector, especially, which I saw. Just wanted to understand, as Siddharth also said, that a lot of concerns have come regarding, especially in the 40s, a lot of people getting this heart attack. And every other day news also we look at so many founders are doing that. So from a layman point of view, how do we not end up in a situation where we will need this kind of support? What do you would suggest?
Well, I mean, flip my issues on the head, right? You have to de-stress. You can't, I'm not a favor of 90-hour weeks for the rest of your life. I actually asked my first investor from who was a partner at Kleiner Perkins and big venture fund in those days who had funded Amazon and Genentech and this and that. Okay, what are, how much should I work as a founder CEO? I mean, I was working a couple of weeks, 120-hour weeks, and I was like, no, this is not healthy at all. So his answer was very fruitful. He said, if you're spending about 55 hours a week, that's good. You can't just clock in at 40 hours a week, the bare minimum, and expect to grow a company. You got to put in something more. But somewhere between 55 and 60, he thought was a healthy amount that could be managed, that would give you time for your family, for activities, for life, besides of work. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but diet, exercise, all that stuff you have to watch out. I mean, you really have to watch out. I wasn't doing that, from my IIT Kharagpur days, as you know how lousy the damn food on KGP is. So anytime I got a damn good meal, I would eat like a pig. And when I went graduated, and so that was I had to learn to control that. I mean, that's that 5 years I spent in KGP and previously in boarding school commanded me to hog like crazy if I saw a good meal in front of me. So you had to watch it. You had to really watch it. Yeah. So I mean, and the environment. I mean, unfortunately, we all mostly have jobs in big cities. Big cities are the ones that are mostly polluted, industrial, and that's something that we have to really watch out for. So it's really the city planners that have to make our cities more habitable, if you will. I think. We can't do each individual. There's not much we individually can do if we live in Kolkata or Delhi or Mumbai. But the city planners have to really figure this out. And the people it can be done. I mean, people have shown in Europe, like Paris, right? I mean, the mayor of Paris, the last couple of mayors have done a great job of converting Paris to a biking city. It wasn't that before. Now you can walk or bike anywhere in Paris, for example. It can be done. So anyway, that's my 2 cents here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We would request questions from the audience. You can directly ask here, or you can put it in the chat box also. We can.
Pratap, can I speak? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Pratap, this is
Pratap, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. So it's nice to hear you committing to Nagpur because I've moved up from Calcutta for about 40 years now. And This
Oh,
is
Nagpur.
the first of the tech guys speaking from Nagpur, because we normally have a coal industry here. So it's great to hear you being committed to doing something for Nagpur.
Of course.
We did meet Nitin Gadkari, but as you know, we had the impending elections and all. Now that elections are over and Nitin Gadkari and Devendra Fadnavis is back in the game, we should be able to do something.
Yes, hopefully.
I think someone spoke, Rajendra Govardhan spoke with you from US about starting a incubation center.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your
we
plans
should
on?
definitely keep going on those efforts. So
Yeah. What are your plans on how do you want to go about it? Because we never delved into this when we met at VNIT last time. We didn't get much time. So if you have to start a incubation center in India, anywhere, say Nagpur, how do you plan doing it?
Yeah, so I mean, we would start with selecting 2 or 3 projects, not to do anything. If you spread out your resources and focus too far, you uh, take a short-term project, a long-term project, and a medium-term one. Show that you can succeed with at least a short to medium term. That way, you can get some credibility. And then, essentially, so what the Pangartha is saying is. An incubator wouldn't have its own ideas. It would solicit other medtech innovators and entrepreneurs in the region or around the country saying, hey, we have the mentorship and the facilities, or we can hook you up with the facilities to make things happen. Advance your idea from A to Z, and then help that entrepreneur or innovator move things along to make it so. And this would be a private-public partnership model that we have actually talked, I believe, with Minister Gadkari as well, which seems to have worked in other places too. So that's where I would start small, prove yourself, and but at the same time, make sure you have a portfolio approach to it, meaning you're going after these long-term disruptive innovation, but at the same time, you're doing something within about a year or 2 that can immediately help patients, and you can show, hey, claim victory, if you will. I mean, provide value. So that's kind of, and of course, involve the disciplines, right? The clinical discipline, the doctors, the entrepreneur doctors that I was very surprised a year ago to see in Nagpur. There's the business part of it that people provide. There's the engineering, technical part of it that the institutions in Nagpur. So it doesn't, have to be the IITs only. I mean, it's a big problem we face as a country and as a world, healthcare in general. And I think innovation can come from any sources really. But yeah, we have to promote it. We have to encourage it. We have to, show that we can deliver results. I don't know.
Sir, we have we have a question from Sri Partha Mitra. Do you think IIT Kharagpur can take a lead with people like you when we have strong engineering departments collaborating with the upcoming medical university?
I hope so. I mean, yeah, Amit is my classmate. Amit Patra, the incoming director of IIT Kharagpur. I sat for 5 years with him, and he's a very nice guy, of course. So yeah, I hope, I mean, I've advised everyone else. I did come down to IIT Kharagpur at Amit's invitation. Gosh, that's been a while though, 20 years ago maybe. So a lot of things have changed. The vision that he had of the School of Medical Science and Technology at IIT Kharagpur has been realized. I believe there's a Department of Biomedical Engineering at IIT Kharagpur now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot that can be done. And I said the challenge with KGP would be they're developing the hospital, and maybe that's operational. The engineering strength is obviously there. It's getting the business part of it involved because of its, distance from Calcutta even. But that's changing. There are better roads now, and that can be done. That's more amenable to be done a little bit at long distance versus the clinical and medical and engineering science interface that has to be really closely intertwined. So that is obviously being implemented at IIT Kharagpur. So there's a chance for that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have another question from Sri Binay Chaudhary. Can motor neuron disease be cured now? Can you? And the second question is, can you succeed in any startup without significant funding or grant?
Let me answer the first one first. What was the first one? The motor neuron question?
One minute.
Can you repeat that first question?
Can motor neuron disease be cured now?
Well, I'm not sure if they can be cured per se. We have technologies now that I know of that are there to help the regeneration of lost neurons and neural connections, for sure. We have a much better idea of how the brain works and how neurons form and how they connect with each other. And the brain is a very plastic object. That's the central nervous system I'm talking about. There's also the peripheral nervous system, the nerves that are at the tip of my fingers that are telling me how hard and soft an object is, how hot it is, how cold it is, all that stuff. That is definitely, there are technologies to help with that. And there are ways I know of a company in Pittsburgh, for example, in which, if any nerve is broken, you can help promote with a combination of a device structural support to promote regrowth of the nerves from both directions in a particular way, because nerves otherwise will just grow very crazy. Got to establish a firm connection structurally, mechanically, and electrically as well, and then have some biological agents to promote the growth of those connections once they happen mechanically. So yes, there's technology that is being developed by many companies, and especially in the US for sure, for neurogeneration, nerve regeneration. And just like cancer, which is, Siddhartha Mukherjee has written a great book, Emperor of All Maladies, which has so many different flavors to it. But we put it in a box of cancer, like breast cancer is different from pancreatic cancer, is different from lung cancer, and all that stuff. Neural issues are also a broad spectrum of things. So it's really hard for me to talk about. I'll just be talking in generalities, but that's really how I see the way brain, central nervous system, and the spine, and then peripheral nervous system that does all the motor and sensor functions. That sends messages to and from. And then from the brain, then control the muscles in response. So it's very complicated, right? I mean, if I
Yeah,
touch
thank you.
hot object with my hand, the sensors in my hand are telling me it's hot. That sensor signal goes to my brain, and the brain says, well, that's too hot. You will hurt yourself. So release your finger. I have to actively do my muscles. A lot of things have to happen. We automatically take for granted. So anyway, but yeah, all these technologies are definitely being good. Anyway, let's go to the second question. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have a question from Murlidhar. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes. Good evening, Pratap. Do you remember me, Ramesh Bhattodekar from Nehru Hall? Is
Yeah.
80 batch,
Hey,
but
Bhatu, how are you? A.K.A. Bhatu, I know.
yes, sir, fine,
Bhatu.
fine. Yes, correct.
You are
So,
my senior, right? When did you graduate?
yes, sir, senior. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember you.
Yes.
During holy time, I remember you. We used to play holy. So okay, now I have I had published one joint paper on prediction of cardiovascular diseases using AI, artificial intelligence, based on GRIS data. Okay, so I will share with you, and please share your comments. And similarly, some other research can be done. You can
Please.
comment on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you can find me on I think my pet email is listed on the presentation. Khanwilkar.edu. Please, of course, anyone can send me an email, and I'd be happy to respond.
Yes, yes, sure, sure. I would like to do more work on this cardiovascular diseases and prediction, like so that people can be taken care of in advance.
Oh, absolutely. It's very important. I mean, even now, I think I don't know if you heard. I'm a heart failure patient. I have got so many PVCs that my heart throws, premature ventricular contraction, that it just it misses beats, and so it's that's a huge area of research. I mean, there's so many areas again of cardiovascular disease and all that stuff. We can talk later for sure.
Yeah, yes, yes, sure, sure. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, great to see you.
We have a question from Sri Chatterjee. How can we make India as a medically inclusive country, particularly with the context of expensive treatment surgery? I think medical treatment in India is quite economical. I don't know. That's
Oh,
compared to
yeah.
the maybe.
My friends fly from the US to get treated in India. I mean, medical tourism is a big thing, informally or formally. So here's, the two ways to approach it, right? I mean, you can start from the bottom up, the bottom of the pyramid approach, if you will. In my case, I've, done from the top down, meaning why am I working with the Hyderabad and IIT Kharagpur and the Hyderabad group for LVAD? These will still be expensive therapies in India, but I found in my work in other countries like Korea and China and Japan and Canada, blah, 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 is that if you have, there's like a BHAG project. When I say big BHAG, I mean Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal Project. So it kind of pulls everything together. It's like Chandrayaan or something like that, right? It shows to the world, hey, if we can do an implantable blood pump, we can do anything. I mean, we can do anything in medtech, right? It shows that you can do it, and albeit how common it'll be for use in the particular population like India, I don't know. But again, the reason I'm involved in these projects is for it to be a magnet to pull these other technologies and build ecosystems, because you have to have a very, very good and multidisciplinary ecosystem for an artificial heart or a blood pump, LVAD, to come together, right? I mean, even in engineering, you've got to have software, electronics, microprocessors, analog devices, mechanical, strength of materials, structures, biomaterials, chemical engineering, surfaces, coatings. I mean, you name it, right? Every discipline has to be involved to make it work. And I'm just talking about engineering discipline. So it's like, it's complicated. So that shows if you can do something like that, it shows that you have the ability to put all these systems and these people together who can collaborate and work together to make something like this work. If you can do that, hell yeah. I mean, the other stuff is actually easy comparatively, right? Other devices. So that's at least how I'm approaching it. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think Dr. Pratap already has told, I think his initial speech, because I think the lifestyle changes is also helps a lot in avoiding or reducing the cardiovascular disease. I think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
The treatments are there, but the lifestyle changes, and as you told, sir, in Delhi, it is so polluted. So if you are smoking maybe 3 cigarettes a day, everybody will get a heart disease.
3 packs, not just 3 cigarettes. Yeah, 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
3 packs of cigarettes. Yeah. So it is very difficult if you are living in such a polluted environment. I don't know. As we are changing over from the slowly to EVs, if the pollution levels come down, but unless the pollution levels come down, we'll have a huge number of cases for the cardiovascular diseases.
Absolutely. It's a given, right? I mean, we know this. The ppm matter, right? The pollution particulate matter in the air, what we breathe, that affects our lungs. It goes on and on. So yeah, I mean, environment matters. We have to care for it.
You see, I was talking to a cardiologist, sir, and he just advised me one simple remedy. He told that whenever you're going out of your house, just wear a mask. The because in COVID now the mask. So at least your issues of having this allergic reactions will be much less. The pollution
Definitely.
levels are so high
I
in
would.
most of the cities. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another question, sir, from Sri Ramnath, sir. What
Bolliye.
is the status of remedy for fragile X? I was checking
For
what
what
is
now?
fragile X.
I didn't understand that. You'll have to maybe, is
I
it in,
was just thinking, fragile X is a genetic condition causing intellectual disability. I don't know. That's how I was checking in Google. What does fragile X means? Maybe Ramnath sir can. He is there in the session. He can ask.
Bolliye? Please elaborate. I don't understand what you mean.
Ramnath Mukhija.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
I was asking
Bolliye.
whether there is any remedy for fragile X.
What do you mean by fragile X? I don't know.
Fragile X is people having the fragile X problem is that they don't grow in the mental faculty.
I see. So the brain doesn't develop after birth. Are you talking about after birth?
Since birth.
Since birth.
So it is a slow. 12 years old child may be behaving like 3 years or 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, a lot of those are, I have some friends with kids like that. And it's a hard parenting to have this kind of a child and help them grow. But I would say it's really genetic is the causes typically, some gene somewhere. And I'm not an expert in that. I'm not a genetic guy or a biological guy.
I thought you may be aware. Some work has been done, but nothing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, work is.
Nothing concrete has come out.
Well, I mean, there's a huge couple of enabling technologies in biotech right now. One is CRISPR that people won the Nobel Prize for. That's a way to edit genes with single, genes in your DNA, so you can change the outcome. So that is clearly a lot of promise. A lot of CRISPR trials are going on right now. So one would think that something like this would be amenable to using this technology or CRISPR to help gene editing and correct that issue. Proteomics and genomics is another area.
Can I note down your email address?
Yes, I will post it again
to
everyone on the chat.
Put it in the chat.
Yes, sir. So Khanwilkar, my last name at fit.pd. I will do that. I've done that right now.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We had a very nice session. Maybe we have a question, time for one last question, if there is any one. It was a very nice and interesting session, and a lot of new advances in the cardio things which has happened. And I will surely hope that some of these developments are there in India also. Maybe these affordable treatments are available to patients in India. And IIT KGP has come up with a hospital. Unit Foundation also did part, like we donated the hospital beds. I think the hospital becomes quickly functional, and as a research institute, it works in the cutting edge technologies. We do look forward to that, sir.
Sure.
I'm hoping it will start soon.
Let's hope so, sir.
Yes, you had some issues with the state government and central government on that.
So it hasn't started yet. The hospital then?
No.
Achha.
It hasn't fully. It's not fully operational. That's what we understand.
PD has started, and IPD also slowly they have started. I guess another few months it will be fully functional. Let's put that way.
Good.
It's a huge undertaking to start a tertiary care hospital and in Midnapore, for example.
Thank you, sir.
Sid.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure. One last question. Yes.
Why can't we, you being representative of the Alumni Association along with Raja, who's also supposed to be present, I haven't heard him speaking today, but I've seen his name. So why can't we have Pratap collaborate with IIT KGP? if you can put him across or put the idea across to Amit Patra, who's his batchmate, then perhaps something good will come out of it, right?
I hope so, sir. Let's see how a foundation can help in this matter. And the
Just
collaboration.
about the suggestion, since we have got this stalwart in the medtech world, and he being our alumni, we can do something for our institute as well, right?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Happy
Absolutely.
to
I just
be.
give you a suggestion. Just try and work on it. Thanks, Sid.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for a very nice session, and thanks to all of you who have attended this session. Pankaj Singh sir is present in the session, our vice president. I request a vote of thanks from Pankaj Singh sir. And I also thank our office secretary, Sri Sandeep Senapati, who was helped in sending the mails, making up the WhatsApp communication. Abhishek Kumar Yadavji, our treasurer. I'm sincerely thankful to them. I request Pankaj Singh sir, if you are present, sir, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Pratap sir, for
Thank
a
you.
very wonderful session. You covered a very large range of implantable heart pumps, orthopedics, resorbable magnesium to Pittsburgh University. It was a great session, sir. The Foundation India is grateful to you for this informative and for agreeing to deliver such a wonderful lecture. You are a mixture of technology and business, and it will be a great kind of for our people who want to have startups, etc. And you have done wonderfully in the startup space in US. And now you are in Nagpur, so we would certainly like you to be associated with IIT Kharagpur. And of course, from the IIT Kharagpur Alumni Association of Nagpur. And I'm sure that all the alumni who have joined today will be benefited by your experience and your experience in medtech particularly. And IIT Kharagpur also will be certainly, benefiting in the medtech area, because we are going to have a medical engineering department at IIT Kharagpur. I thank all the alumni who are present today, and thanks to the foundation team led by Siddhartho and Abhishek, and Rajabhai is also present, president. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the pleasure and honor was mine. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we should close the session now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, all of you. Have a very nice day.
Thanks a lot, Ed, and everyone else who put this together.
Thank you.